Hi, Casey Meraz here with Juris Digital, and today we're going to be talking about questions you should be asking your law firm SEO company. I've seen a lot over the past 20 years in web development and digital marketing, and it never ceases to amaze me how many goons there are out there in the industry. And with more and more popping up every day, you have to be able to make an informed decision. So let's just go ahead and roll right into it. First of all, the first question that I would ask is what kind of clients do you work for? You want to figure out if they specialize with lawyers or a specific type of practice area, or if they're working for everybody. The reason that that's important is because an account manager might be attached to a lot of different projects. And if it's in a lot of different niches and they don't put the time in to figure out what's going to work best for you, that could present an issue. Which brings me to point number two. Do you have examples that you can show me? Know what your goals are before you even think about hiring a digital marketing agency to build up your inbound leads, for example. So if you know, I want to sign more car accident cases, you can ask them, show me proof of what you've done to get more car accident cases for some of your clients. You can look at that data, and that's going to give you a good idea to see, hey, is this a company I should work with? If they can't provide that, or they say, oh, there's an NDA in place, or something like that, it's probably because they don't have the information. Which brings me to point number three. If you get to that point and they're able to show you that proof, that's great. But you can trust but verify, right? So ask to speak to one of their clients. Perhaps that client they got the results for that they showed you. If they're able to do that, then that's another promising sign. And the reason that that's so important is because everybody is doing some sort of digital marketing, it seems like these days, but very few people know what they're actually doing. And so moving on and kind of talking about point number four now, you need to make sure that they've had continued success as well. If they show you one client, ask them how long they've been with you. If it's been a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever that is, that's good for you to know. Because if that track record too was just a short spike, or something that just materialized, there's no knowing if the longevity is going to be there too. Point number five would be make sure you know how that agency operates. Who's going to be my point of contact? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be Casey? Or is it going to be an account manager, a digital marketing manager, an SEO expert, whoever? Who am I going to be working with on a day-to-day basis? Make sure that you have a chance to talk to those people. Make sure that they're a good fit for you and that your communication style's there. Because even if the company's good and all these check boxes are checked, if you're not going to communicate well with the person that they've assigned you, before you start, you have the opportunity to perhaps switch with somebody you're going to work better with. Probably the biggest point for me, and I probably already said that, but point number six is transparency. Okay, there's a lot of shady digital marketing agencies out there. And what I mean by shady, or what I consider to be shady, is let's say that you're doing pay-per-click and you're spending $10,000 a month on personal injury keywords, and then that company won't provide you with how many clicks went to each keyword. Not having that type of data means that you're not ever going to really be able to grow outside of that company. They retain all of that. That's super shady, and it keeps you really in the dark. And if you ever leave them, you're kind of screwed. Also, you don't know what areas to really focus on and ramp up if it's working. So make sure you have full transparency. And that also goes with Google Analytics. You need to make sure that you have full access to your own Google Analytics, that you're the owner, and you can add people as authorized users, but make sure you always retain that ability to remove them, which is point number seven. Ask who owns that data. Okay. And there's transparency is one part, but owning the data is something completely different. We've worked with companies that don't own their own Google Analytics data, and they actually delete that if you leave them. Or they don't share their AdWords, Google Ads access with you, or Bing Ads, and they delete that information if you leave with them. Point number eight would be make sure you own your website, okay? This is key. So many people fall into the trap of, let me get a cheap website to get launched quickly with this company. They build it up quickly. They get that website launched. Boom, everything seems to be going good. And then maybe not so much. It's going downhill. Okay. And then you want to separate that relationship. At that point, if you don't own your website outright, you can't take it with you. You have to start over. And there's a long lag period there to do it the right way in a lot of cases. So point number 9 would be what type of website I recommend. So you can ask your digital marketing agency, how do you build your websites? Do you do it on Joomla, or do you use HTML or a proprietary system? That's a red flag, run. The best thing that you can do is basically at this point in 2019 is own a WordPress website that's hard coded for you. And you don't want to use a theme that's pre-built, because those are bulky, it'll slow you down, and then higher page load speeds are going to affect how you rank organically in Google search, but also it's going to have a major effect on conversions. People are going to bounce and go to your competitor's website if it loads faster, especially on mobile. So ask them if they build on WordPress. If they say yes, ask them if they build their own themes. If the answer is yes, then you're probably on the right track, and ask to see some examples where you can run a Google PageSpeed Insight test. And that's something that you can do. Just go to Google PageSpeed Insights, and you can type in a website, and it's going to basically tell you what their score is. So make sure you run that, get an idea, and then if you're going to use them and they can't provide that example of what you're looking for in the 90th percentile, say that's a requirement of what I want. How fast do you build these websites? And then meaningful results are very important, of course. So, talking about results, you need to make sure this ties into transparency and owning your data. But if you know your KPI, and let's say that's to sign more cases, you need a way to track that, okay? And the way that things are today, it's a lot easier to track than you would think. You can use services like CallRail, for example, to track calls that are coming in, and you can track them from Google My Business. You can track them, and I'll just show you what that is real quickly. I'm just going to type in personal injury lawyer here. Boom, boom, boom. So this is Google My Business. You can track the call specifically from your local listings here in Google My Business, or you can also track them here organically. So you can track them everywhere and anywhere. So you want to make sure that you're doing that, and make sure that you have that transparency as well. And then see who they're working with. Obviously you're asking for an example, but if they're working for 10 clients in your area, in your city, they may not be the best choice. Usually you see this with bigger companies like FindLaw, and if you were going to look for, let's say, a criminal lawyer here in Parker, Colorado, where I'm at, we have this ad, this ad, this ad. All of them may or may not be using them. And when they do that, they can't put the type of attention into your campaign. If it's a smaller city, it really needs to be one. Making sure they're not working with a lot of people. In a bigger city, you could probably work with a few, but you don't want to have too many, right? You don't want to you don't want them working with 20 of your competitors. It's just in bigger cities, with the way that proximity works these days in local search, you can actually kind of cover a wider geographic area with multiple clients. So, and then, you really should ask them, what are you going to do for me? Ask specifically, and then think back about that transparency and make sure they're going to do that. If the generic answers are, oh, we're just going to do stuff behind the scenes and something like that, that's a big red flag. That transparency has to be there. You have to know what the deliverables are. Even if it's just, hey, we're going to build 5 links and create 2 pieces of content, whatever that is, make sure you have an understanding of their capabilities. What are you capable of? Can you design an infographic for me? Can you run a scholarship link building campaign for me? And ask those types of questions. Another thing is to get an idea of their reviews. Just type in the name of the company and the word reviews afterwards and see what people have to say about them. See what these lawyers are saying. Make sure that they're real lawyers, or make sure that whoever they're searching for, whoever you're searching for, the reviews that you're getting are real. Okay. And then you can ask them, do you follow Google Webmaster Guidelines? A lot of people are just going to say yes generically to that. And you can ask them a more specific question if you wanted to go deep, like, how do you build links? And that would be something that they would have to give a pretty technical answer on. And if people are saying Web 2.0, that's kind of a red flag keyword, or automated link building, or things like that, you probably want to stay away. So there's a lot of different questions that you can ask. But once you have that framework, you kind of have that trust in them, you can then ask what type of time frame you're going to see results in. And SEO can take time. If you're starting from scratch, it can take a year. It could take 6 months, a year, 3 years, depending on what your goals are. So you need to play the long game on SEO, and then pay-per-click. Of course, those timelines are going to be shorter. You're going to start seeing those results after the first month, and as that campaign tweaks, it's just going to get better and better. So there's options, but hopefully that provides you with some insight as to the questions that you should ask when you're looking to hire a legal marketing agency. If you have any questions, please leave some in the comments below, and I'll be happy to respond.